يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن. وتعلم الفقه الميسر عاملا بالشرع دون تعصب لفلان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه. أما بعد. Now this might be confusing to a lot of you because Hajj is a full package and you cannot understand it from the very first few lessons, and you'll have the full picture once you conclude the whole lessons if you wish. So I'd highly recommend that you note down the things you learn so that at the end of the classes, once you look at your notes, it all comes to fit and you get the picture bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. There are issues related to the mawaqit. For example, so many people ask, what happens if I come and fly over the miqat and pass it without ihram while intending to do Hajj and Umrah? The problem is that you have to assume the state of ihram from the miqat. If you pass it, you have one of two choices. Number one, go back to your miqat, to your designated miqat, not to any miqat you wish, and make your ihram there and come back and go to Mecca. No harm's done, no expiation. If you're unable and you can't go back, in this case, you may assume your ihram wherever you are, whether in Mecca or in Jeddah or elsewhere, but you have to pay the price for expiation, which is slaughtering a fidyah, a sheep in the haram area, in the Mecca area, and giving it to the poor around the haram area. Number two, those who are beyond the miqat zone. So as we said, there's a circle or a ring around the haram. And these miqat offer this fence. What about those who live inside this fence? For example, the people of Jeddah, where I live, we are about 90 kilometers away from Kaaba, an hour drive or so. And all the mawaqit is way beyond us. So where do we do our ihram? The Prophet answered this, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he said that, and whoever is living within those boundaries can enter ihram from the place he starts. And the people of Mecca can enter ihram from Mecca, and this is only for Hajj. But for Umrah, the people of Mecca themselves have to leave Mecca and go to the Hill area, which we will come to discuss inshallah. Sheikh, I'm lost. Don't be. I'll explain to you. In Hajj, we living inside the boundaries and the people of Mecca are alike. Where did we start our intention? From our homes, from my home in Jeddah. Then I assume my ihram for Hajj from my home in Jeddah. What about the people living in Mecca? Couple of 100 yards away from Haram. They want to perform Hajj. They have to do it from their home. Labbaik Allahumma Hajj, and they go, no problem. Umrah is different. For us in Jeddah, yes, it's the same thing as Hajj. We do it from our home. We assume the ihram from our home. The people of Mecca are different in Umrah only. Why? Because Umrah linguistically means to visit. And how can a person visit himself when he's home? He has to leave home and visit. So the people of Mecca, whenever they want to perform Umrah, they are instructed to go to the Hill area, because Mecca has Haram area, the sacred shrine, and what's outside the boundaries is called Hill. So they have to go to the Hill area, assume their ihram, and then go to Al-Kaaba. And this is what Aisha, Mother Aisha, did when she was in Hajj, and she performed Hajj, but she was on her menses. When she wanted to perform Umrah, the Prophet said to her, go with your brother Abdurrahman to the Hill. Where is the closest Hill to Haram? A place called At-Tan'im, or what everyone knows as Masjid Aisha. That's why they called it Masjid Aisha, because the Prophet ordered Abdurrahman to take his sister to Tan'im, assume the ihram, and then come and make their Umrah. So the people of Mecca, for Umrah only, must leave the Haram area. And I hope this does not confuse you. There's nothing to be confused with. Number 3, what happens if I pass by a miqat that is not mine? Should I ignore it and wait until I go to mine? No. If this is happening during your journey, there's no problem. Can you give an example, Sheikh? No problem. I'm traveling all the way from the UK. My ihram zone is Rabigh or Al-Juhfa, because I'm coming from west-north. So I'll be flying from north, going southbound, flying over Rabigh. This is my miqat zone. However, I decided before coming to Jeddah and Mecca to go to Medina and stayed there for a week. Now, I'm taking the train from Medina to Mecca. Which miqat should I assume my ihram? The answer is the miqat of Medina. Yes, but my miqat is Juhfa. Yes, but now you're coming from Medina. Therefore, Abiyar Ali is your miqat, so be careful, because it's very, very close to Medina itself. It's in Medina, actually, very close. So ask where it is by wearing your ihram as you mount and board the train, and say your talbiyah and then come. Number 4, as we've stated, there's no problem for you to wear your ihram before you board the plane, even from your home, whether you're in the States or in up east in Malaysia. You wear your ihram, but you don't assume the state of ihram. You don't say labbaik Allahumma umrah or labbaik Allahumma hajj until you are adjacent to the ihram zone. And number 5, whoever goes to Mecca, for example, and does not intend to do hajj or umrah, there's no problem in that. Why do you make such a big fuzz out of it? What do you mean? I don't understand. Well, a lot of the people think that if we pass the miqat, we have to assume ihram. And this is not true. If you don't have the intention for umrah, you may just go there to pray. You may just go there to attend a wedding. So it is not mandatory for you to assume the state of ihram if you don't have the intention to make umrah or hajj. The Prophet did this, alayhi salatu wasalam, went to Mecca when he on the conquest of Mecca and did not wear his ihram and did not perform umrah or hajj until he came back from Taif, and Allah knows best. Now, what are the rituals of hajj? And this is also something that a lot of the Muslims may be confused of, but I'll try to simplify it to you. There are 3 types of hajj: tamattu', qiran, and ifrad. Qiran and ifrad are identical with 2 differences only. Tamattu' is different, and it's the highest, and it's the best of the three types. The Prophet ﷺ indicated that had he not driven his sacrifice with him from Medina, he would have performed tamattu'. What is tamattu'? Tamattu' is to perform umrah separate than the hajj. A full-fledged umrah with tawaf and sa'i and cutting or shaving your head afterwards. And this is to be done starting from the first day of Shawwal. You remember the 3 months of Hajj? Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah. So if you assume your ihram in Shawwal any day or in Dhul Qa'dah with the intention of making Umrah and you have the intention of making Hajj, then you are in the stage of tamattu'. So you perform your Umrah and you get out of the state of ihram after finishing your Umrah, and you resume your normal life, wearing your normal clothes, wearing perfume, if you're married, being intimate with your wife, until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, when everyone goes to Mina, Arafat, and the 3 or 4 days afterwards. Then you assume your ihram again from wherever you are for Hajj. So it's a separate Umrah, totally different. Then you have the Hajj. And in your Hajj as a mutamatti', in tamattu' Hajj, tamattu' is the name of the type of Hajj. Mutamatti' is the name of the pilgrim performing tamattu'. So this is an adjective, mutamatti'. Remember, we did our tawaf and sa'i, that's separate, it's gone. In my Hajj, I have to again repeat tawaf of Hajj and sa'i of Hajj, which is only to be done on the day of Eid onwards, the 10th of the Hijjah, 11th, 12th, or 13th. I can choose and pick. This is type number 1, which is known as at-tamattu'. 1 tawaf and 1 sa'i for the Umrah, that's separate. Then another tawaf and another sa'i, and these are pillars of Hajj that I have to do after the 10th day of the 10th day of the Hijjah, which is the day of Eid. The second type of Hajj is known as Al-Qiran. And as I said, Al-Qiran is the name of the type of Hajj. The description or the adjective of the person doing it is Muqrin. And Qiran and Ifrad are identical. The technicality lies in the difference between the two. Qiran, you intend to combine between Umrah and Hajj. Not like Tamattu', having a separate Umrah where you cut your hair afterwards and resume your normal life, then make another Ihram for your Hajj with a period of grace in between. No. In Qiran, you combine both Umrah and Hajj with the intention, but there is no distinction. There is no specific Umrah done where you cut your hair. No. This is difference number 1 between Qiran and Ifrad. The second difference is in Qiran, you have to offer the sacrifice, al-hadi. In Ifrad, there is no hadi mandated upon you. Other than that, they all share the same rituals. Okay, then what's the difference? I'll tell you. Qiran and Ifrad, they assume the ihram. Okay, Tamattu', we assume the ihram, correct? But Tamattu', after they performed their Umrah, they cut their hair, got out of the state of ihram, and now they can live for a week, a month or so, until the 8th of the Hijjah in Mecca, doing whatever they want. In Qiran and Ifrad, the moment you assume your ihram, you cannot get out of it except on the 10th day of Eid when you throw the pebbles and cut your hair. And this is known as the first tahallul. Okay, I'm noting this down, Sheikh. Go ahead. How do I do Qiran and Ifrad? Very simple. On the day you do your Ihram, and usually it is the 7th day, the 8th day of the Hijjah. So it's very limited time where you are wearing the Ihram. Unlike Tamattu', he assumed his Ihram way before, did his Umrah, and then stayed halal. Qiran and Ifrad, they usually come on the 6th day, 7th day, 8th day to wear their Ihram. Now they have assumed their Ihram. The sunnah for them is to go and perform tawaf. Oh, they're making Umrah. No, don't mix it up. This tawaf is voluntary, it's sunnah. And after it, they can perform sa'i, and this sa'i is a pillar. It looks like Umrah. It looks like Umrah, but it is not. So they perform tawaf, which is sunnah, like Tahiyyatul Masjid. Then they perform sa'i, 7 rounds between Safa and Marwa. And then they go back to Mina. Oh, they don't cut their hair. No, they're still in their state of Ihram. This is a pillar. What's the second option, Sheikh? The second option is that they don't perform tawaf or sa'i at all. Okay, that sounds easier, isn't it? It's up to you. The sunnah is to do it. The Prophet did it, alayhi salam. The second option is you don't do anything and you go and do your rituals and everything else. But on the day of Eid, you have to perform tawaf, which is a pillar. And then followed by sa'i, which is a pillar of Hajj. If you don't do these two, your Hajj is invalid. Likewise, al-mutamatti', our friend in the type 1, he also does tawaf and sa'i on the 10th, which is a pillar for all pilgrims, that they have to do it on the 10th or onwards, 11th, 12th, or 13th. And by this, you know the difference between the 3 rituals, the 3 types. They're all alike from the 8th to the 13th, almost alike, with the difference of tawaf and sa'i of Hajj, whether the sa'i of Hajj can be performed on the 8th or the 7th for the muqrin and the mufrid alone. Tamattu' or the mutamatti' cannot perform his sa'i on the 8th. It has to be on the 10th. While al-muqrin and al-mufrid, the one in Qiran and Ifrad, can have the option of offering their sa'i, which is a pillar, after offering tawaf al-qudum, which is a sunnah, and then what's remaining for them is tawaf al-hajj, also known as tawaf al-ziyarah, also known as tawaf al-ifada. 3 names of the same ritual, to be only done on the 10th of the Hijjah onwards. هذا والله أعلم ونسبة العلم إليه أسلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد.
يا راغبا في كل علم نافع
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، وتعلم الفقه الميسر عاملا بالشرع دون تعصب لفلان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.